Records that he sold majority stake to, but he wants to buy it back. And it's going to take a lot of money to buy this record company back. So essentially, then what happens is a kidnapper kidnaps the son of his chauffeur, played by Jeffrey Wright from American Fiction, kidnaps Jeffrey Wright's son, thinking it's David King's son, and is now demanding, I think it's $17.5 million for the safe return of the kid. That's kind of where I'll leave it then, too, because this is one of those movies where, like, the kidnapping is not the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like half the movie. It's half the movie. And then like the first half of the movie is kind of like a crime drama mystery. The second half of the movie is a little bit more traditional Spike Lee insofar in that it's a little bit more, it's less grounded to plot. It's more married to characters. It's more married to situations than it is plot developments. You have a litany of great performers in this movie too. A$AP Rocky is in this playing a rapper with the name Jonsson.
Live and online, it's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever. It's Sleepless with Steve. We're live on YouTube tonight, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Steve Pulaski, as usual, and Joe Viso. Dominic Guanzon, late in the game scratch. Healthy scratch. All is well in his world, but no less. Late game scratch. So you got to deal with the two of us tonight for a show with a big movie and a really big, unfortunate passing as well in Robert Redford that we will touch on as well. So, a lot going on tonight. Again, reviewing The Long Walk, the brand new Francis Lawrence movie based on the Stephen King novel. And I'm excited to touch on this too. Made, I think, $11.5 million, which is this weekend, which is a little bit lower than I thought it was going to make. I don't know about you, just off the cuff of that number. I thought this was going to do a little bit better than that. I was kind of surprised.
No, I am not surprised because not that I saw this movie, I just have a ton of friends who went to go see it. That anime movie Demon Slayer was coming out, and that's all I heard anyone talk about this weekend in terms of a movie they were going to see. And so when I was like, well, I'm going to the theater to go see The Long Walk, and everybody was like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, fuck, this ain't making money. Because usually sometimes I'll tell my friends what I'm going to go see related to the theater, like related to the review, and they'll be like, oh, can I tag along? I'm like, sure, I'll bring you with, like, and everything. This time, none of them knew. None of them knew at all.
I went to the theater to see the Baltimoreans on Monday, this new indie drama and shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably why nobody's here, for multiple reasons. But yeah, that Demon Slayer, I don't know. I don't know shit. Ever since, what was it? Dom and Blaine dragged me to that friggin' Sword Art Online years ago in college. They dragged me to that anime. I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Even the trees talking this shit. Like it was fun to go with them, but I'm like that anime shit. You either have to be like all in or all out on that.
If they throw you in the deep end for something like, because like I never watched it, but I know that's some deep end anime shit. Like that's like stuff you watch when you're familiar with how anime can be and everything. For me, it was like whenever like someone's like, hey, I want to get into anime, where should I start? I'd be like, let's start you out easy. Ghost in the Shell. It's just cyberpunk futuristic world. Like, it's like that's easy to digest, and you're gonna work your way up from there. And like slowly we'll get to Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia, and then you can get to ones that I don't even know what the fuck the title is. It's like I'm lost in a dungeon as like a piece of poo or something. It's like these are real like anime titles. I'm not even like trying to like play it down. Like no, there's like real anime titles like that.
Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go.
There you go, yeah. Oh, I'm literally typing up on Google.
Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mitch, and Titch.
Oh man.
Weird shit. I can't get into it. I that was always whenever there was anime on Adult Swim as a kid, that was signal it was time to go to bed.
I'm done here. I've seen all the cartoons I wanted to see.
Tell me about it. I'm like Family Guy ended and shit, and I'm like, I'm done. Seacrest out.
That Dragon Ball Z intro came up, and you're like, all right, click.
You know what I do remember as a kid, though? I haven't listened to it in so long, but I can still remember how it goes. I do remember at least listening to the One Piece theme song.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. Dude, like, even though I've watched anime, there's still so many popular animes. One Piece is one of them. Naruto's another. I don't know their themes. I don't know anything really about them.
My favorite anime was the Good Times with Weapons episode of South Park. that was my favorite anime. But we are talking The Long Walk. We're not talking Demon Slayer. Somebody else with knowledge on that can touch on that movie. Not me. But good to see you, Joe. We are going to dive into Robert Redford here in just a couple of minutes. But first things first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Trying to think. We had a softball game last night. And we won our first. What's up?
I just said EFIS.
We had our softball game last night. We won our first game, and the second game, you can tell people were starting to check out. I don't know if there was something in the air or just people were getting tired. But our second game, because it was a doubleheader, people were starting to check out. Motivation just wasn't there. and the entire time it's a 5-1 lead we have, and we get down. You only play 7 innings. We get down to the bottom of the 7th inning, and the team we're facing fucking runs up the score and beats us 6-5. And we went back to the dugout, and it's like every guy knew, because like all the girls on our team, it's a co-ed team. All the girls on our team were giving it their all. Like I couldn't ask more of them, but the guys were just checking out, including myself. And like I even said it too when we were in the dugout. I'm like, there was just something about us guys tonight. We weren't gelling with one another. We kept messing up. We would get off base when we didn't need to, and then get tagged out, or think we can make it to the next base and we couldn't. It's like we weren't giving our 100% effort.
You were the Bears.
We were the Bears. It's honestly like I didn't want to say it, but I was just like we played like the Bears that night. We really did. So next week the guys and I, we all chipped in for a brand new bat, because the bat we usually use is starting to get it's really starting to break down and like dematerialize. And so we decided to chip in all for a bat. We're hoping next week we come in. It's another doubleheader. We want to win both games, and then hopefully end the season on a good note the following week by winning both games again. So we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed for you, my friend.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed for you and the team. Hopefully it gets more engaging. We will start, I guess, with this, because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring this up. Robert Redford passing away on yesterday. It was yesterday morning at the age of 89. Robert Redford kind of essentially in the last few years didn't do as much. I remember in 2018 he did a movie called The Old Man and the Gun, and that was supposed to be his last movie, he said. And then he came back for Avengers Endgame, which I think was ultimately his final appearance. He did a few things here and there and things like that, but not a lot in the grand scheme of things. But he has been an indispensable actor for decades, and an indispensable human being for decades too. Obviously, his credits are long. He was in All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Candidate, Sneakers. Had kind of a little bit of a resurgence. It's hard to call it a resurgence because he's always been around, but a lot of the different movies he did, even in his later years, went on to be critically acclaimed. Most notably, one of my favorite movies of the 2010s that he did was All Is Lost.
Yeah,
All Is Lost.
Let's go.
Great film. Great film. So very little dialogue in it.
Yeah, it's like, half the dialogue is just him swearing, being pissed.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. He was in Truth, too, which was the movie about the Dan Rather, the Killian documents controversy that led to Dan Rather's resignation and the end of his career.
Yeah.
And on top of that, too, I don't know how many people know this, but he founded the Sundance Institute, which then became the Sundance Film Festival.
That's what I was going to bring up when I was going to be my turn. I was going to talk about that. That was something I learned today while listening to The Seven on the Washington Post. I was like, oh, no kidding. I'm like, this guy like actually founded that. That's why it's called the Sundance Film Festival, because Sundance did.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I guess fittingly, appropriately, serendipitously passed away in Sundance, Utah.
There you go.
As well. But he's just an incredible individual. Gentlemanly is the way I would always describe him. One of those guys, devilishly handsome, aged very graciously too. Yeah. Wound up becoming a big activist as well for a number of different causes, whether it was environmentalism, Native American and indigenous peoples' rights too. I was reading a little bit about that before the show too. The work he's done with Native American groups and things like that. Really noble stuff in that department. LGBT rights and things like that.
Yeah.
Just one of those dudes that is also an indispensable part of Hollywood history, given the fact too that like he came on at a time and his rise coincided with sort of the new Hollywood movement when movies became more institutionalized and stuff, branching out to different genre pictures and things like that. Was an actor that didn't just stick to Westerns, stick to dramas, kind of went all over the map in so many ways. Just an incredible guy. Everybody, I mean, you're seeing all the tributes now. Everybody loved him. I would assume that coming in a few months when it's the Oscars next year, they are going to carve out a special thing for him as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of, not only just because of the fact that he was such a phenomenal actor and a phenomenal human being speaking, but the fact that he is really, I mean, if you're going to write the history of movies, I don't think, especially American movies, I don't think you can write it without talking about the Sundance Film Festival and what that has meant for movies for decades. Uh,
Absolutely.
so I think that there's going to be a significant tribute to him on that basis alone, coupled with his activism and things like that, and his social reputation and things like that as well. Can't say enough good about Robert Redford. The only thing I wish is that we got him a little while longer, though. But at 89 years old, he lived a couple lifetimes in those 89 years. So I want to give my flowers to him, and just what a phenomenal actor he is.
Yeah, he's known as the golden boy of Hollywood. And it's just like, when you look at his filmography and, of course, what he brought to film overall, with, like we said, the Sundance Film Festival being the largest of the independent film festivals in the United States. There's also, yeah, all the activism that he was involved in throughout, like environmentalism, Native American, Indigenous people's rights, and LGBT rights as well. For me, like, I hate to say it. I can see some people rolling their eyes when they see it. The first time I was really introduced to the guy, because I didn't see any of his movies at first, or if I did, I just didn't remember seeing them when I was younger. Ooh, excuse me. It was Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I remember so many people going crazy saying, "Holy shit, they got Robert Redford in the movie. They got Robert Redford's in this movie." I'm like, all right. I'm like, who's this Robert Redford guy? So I was like, let me look up, like, a movie he was recently in, which was All Is Lost, which came out the year before. I watched that movie and I'm like, oh damn, I see why. This guy's a great actor and everything. That's when I started, and I ran through what his best films were considered. I watched All the President's Men. I watched Jeremiah Johnson. I watched, what was it? Oh, The Great Gatsby that he was in. I mean, I saw the one with Leo as well, but I was like, let me watch this version that he plays Jay Gatsby. I still have not seen, and now I'm making an effort this weekend if possible. I still have not seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That is a movie I've been dying to see. Didn't get around to seeing it. However, I did see The Sting, and that's another one of my favorite movies of his. So yeah, I gotta check out 3 Days of Condor as well. I've heard that movie's really good. But when you go through his filmography and, like, I don't know if this is considered why he's called the Golden Boy of Hollywood, but there's that golden age of Hollywood, and it's like, through a certain amount of years. And I just look at his filmography, and it really is just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit on that list. Like, you talk to any person probably growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, or late 60s throughout the rest of the 70s, and they probably could tell you that, like, yeah, anytime Robert Redford was in a movie, they probably went to the theater just for that name alone. Like, he was somebody that attracted them to the theater. Because after the 70s, he, like, was in a movie every now and then. He was in a movie in 1980, then he wasn't in one until the 84. Then he was just in one movie a year. And then in the 90s, it was the same thing. And then when we got to the 2000s, it was even more sparingly through his career, where he was taking either a big, like, 3 to 4 years out of, like, off without doing a film, probably helping Sundance get its feet going. And then he'll do something back to back to back and then be gone for another period of time. And then back to back to back. It's just incredible career. It sucks to see him go, but, like, God bless for making it to 89 years old. So rest in peace, Robert Redford. You leave behind a legacy very noteworthy to be remembered in Hollywood and at the Oscars and just forever in this industry.
There's a few movies I need to check out from him still too. Out of Africa being one of them with Meryl Streep,
Mm,
and the other one I want to I want to see is Barefoot in the Park, which
okay.
was a Gene Saks movie he did alongside Jane Fonda back in 1967. Which a lot of people, I've seen quite a few people say that that's their favorite role of his.
Yeah.
Which I would love. I would love to see that. I need
A
to.
Bridge Too Far was another one I've seen because my dad loves that movie. And when I told
Oh,
him,
okay.
it was actually after we saw Winter Soldier, and he was like, "Do you not know who Robert Redford is?" And I'm like, "No." And he was like, "All right, we're going." He's like, "We gotta go find wherever this movie's, like, streaming or something." We ended up actually just buying it because we couldn't find it anywhere since Blockbuster was gone by then.
Another deep cut that was interesting that he did, he stars in it and he directed it too. It's called Lions for Lambs, and it came out in 2007. This was an interesting movie. It has Meryl Streep and Tom Cruise in it, and it's basically about
I
there's like
remember
it's
this
about
poster.
yeah, you remember it, don't you?
Yeah.
It's basically about this, like, these soldiers in Afghanistan, this senator who launches this new military strategy, and then this professor who's kind of like educating his students on what's happening in Afghanistan. It's sort of like an anthological look at the Afghanistan war. It's one of those movies. It's kind of like Moneyball. And the reason I say it's like
Oh.
Moneyball, here's why I compare it to that movie is it's because it's like it's not the most riveting movie, but in some ways it's like some of the most fun you're ever going to have while being bored. You know what I mean? Like it's a very stately movie.
Yeah,
And
young Andrew Garfield's in it too.
I forgot about that. He is. It's a very stately movie, very stoic in tone. That's a fascinating one, though, that he did a deep cut that not many people remember. Was not a box office hit. I think it was one of the final movies he directed too. But it was called Lions for Lambs, and it was one of those movies like you said. You remember the poster? I remember going to the theater and like seeing like 'cause what I used to do, and this is so random, but this is so me. I might have mentioned this before. Back when I was a kid and going to the movies was not a weekly thing that I did or could do
Yeah.
because I was a child. I shit you not, what I would do. Let's say the movie was at 11:30. I would tell my mom we have to get there at 11 because what I would do is I would take a napkin and a pen out of her purse and I would walk around and write the fucking movie titles on the napkin and the release dates. And then I would go home on Wikipedia and look the
Yeah.
movies up. That's what I would do after, even during the trailers too. I remember like being a kid, my mother being like, "Steven, sit in your seat," because it's dark in the theater. You know how they have the stair lights. I would like put the napkin down by the stair lights and write it.
Oh shit. To actually give credit, not credit, to actually give some clarity of the last movie he directed. It was actually The
Is.
Conspirator.
You know what I mean? Um, I had clearly had a lot of friends as a kid. Anyway, though.
Actually, Lions for Lambs was the third to last movie he directed. He
Oh, he
directed
did
The
come.
Conspirator after that, and The Company You Keep was the last
uh,
full film he directed. He directed a segment in a like anthology film. So if you want to count that, that is the last thing he directed. But full length feature film, like from top to bottom, The Company You Keep was the last movie he directed.
I forgot about The Company You Keep too. So rest in peace, Robert Redford. Though sad news to wake up to yesterday for sure.
Yeah.
We'll segue to this, The Long Walk, the main meat of the show today, the main movie of the show today. The Long Walk, directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed the bulk of the Hunger Games movies. Also directed, um, also directed Constantine too, for what that is worth.
This guy is my
Uh,
I call him the adaptation, like the adaptation guy. Anytime I think of like who's a good director that does really good at adapting material but original stuff is okay. I don't mean it as a diss. Francis Lawrence is the best in the game. Like he's really good at adapting something. He really, really is.
I was gonna say he hasn't really done much that wasn't based on anything.
Red Sparrow
You'll,
is like the only thing that really comes to mind that I thought was like this is decent. Everything else he's done original, I thought was kind of a miss. But
Red
like,
Sparrow was a novel. Red Sparrow was a novel.
well, fuck me. All right.
The only movie that I see that he did that was not based on a movie is Slumberland,
Oh
or
wow.
not based
Okay.
on something else. Is
Okay.
is Slumberland? I Am Legend was based on a book. Water for Elephants, that was a book. I
That was
thought
a
it
book.
was.
Yeah.
That was a book.
All right.
And
He's
then
adaptation guy. Like he just loves reading and adapting whatever the hell he just read.
yeah, Slumberland was the only one that isn't an adaptation that he has done, and I have not seen that with Jason Momoa. It's one of those Netflix movies that may or may not exist depending on who you ask.
Oh,
But
I know what movie that is. Yeah. Yeah.
the Long Walk is the brand new Francis Lawrence movie written by J.T. Molnar, who also Catherine and I just watched his movie Strange Darling, which was really interesting. It's a horror movie, horror thriller. Fascinating movie. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised when I saw that Molnar was the one behind this one, the writer. Now we were talking briefly about this too last week. This is based on a Stephen King novel. Now, I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with this. I half-heartedly assumed that it was a more recent Stephen King novel or it was a novella in one of his more recent anthologies. Quite the polar fucking opposite, if I will
Yeah.
say this. This was the first book he ever wrote. Now, correction, too. or
I was
note,
about to say, yeah.
this was not the first book he published. The first book he published was Carrie in 1974. The
Yep.
Long Walk was written when he was a freshman at University of Maine in 1966. It was not published until about 13 years later in 1979. So this is his first written work, not his first published work. And I say this kind of in jest, but I was in the minority. I did not like this book. Thinking back to all the dystopian novels that we had to read in like grade school and even early high school and things like that, it's funny. Like, I'm kind of upset my school district did not pick this one, and we had to microanalyze The Fucking Giver by Lois Lowry.
Uh,
I'm in the minority. I did not like that book, and I liked a lot of what I read in school. I did not like that book. I didn't like that book from the first chapter.
I don't even think, I think for our school, we bypassed it. We read the first Hunger Games book.
No shit.
Yeah, we got
No,
lucky because I remember The Giver, like, the class before us told us, did you guys read The Giver? And we're like, no, we're reading Hunger Games. And they went, you gotta be kidding me, that's some bullshit. Like, you guys get to read that?
no, it's true. Like, seriously though, I mean, I didn't mind. Like, there's a lot of books like Of Mice and Men, To Kill a Mockingbird that I'm really grateful that I read at a young
Same,
age, or I
yeah.
was forced to
Great
read.
Gatsby as well is another big
Gatsby.
one.
Yeah, The Glory Field was another one. I don't know how many people read that one, but
Did
The
you have
Glory
to
Field.
did you have to read The Hobbit?
No.
Okay, we had to. I thought that was crazy. I was like, holy shit, like what a pick.
um, but The Long Walk, I'm like, man, one of my, I've always said this before. Shout out to Mrs. Lapointe, my 8th grade English teacher, one of the biggest influences on me in my academic career. Mrs. Lapointe, in her class in 8th grade, we had to read The Outsiders, and man, this would have paired perfectly, The Long Walk with The Outsiders. I thought I saw a little bit of The Outsiders in some of these characters, but at any rate, this is the new Stephen King adaptation, and it is a damn good one, too. This is a really strong movie. The basic premise of this movie is essentially America's devolved into a country that's financial destitution. It's a totalitarian hellhole. It's run by the Major, who's played by a gruff Mark Hamill in the movie. And we're kind of told about the world sort of in casual conversation. It's not an exposition dump. It's not title cards or anything like that. But we're under the belief that like music and books and art have been banned. And what's left is this like most morosely miserable, virtually uninhabitable country that celebrates an annual event known as the Long Walk. So the Long Walk is 50 young men from one from each state compete in a walk that has no finish line. It ends when only one participant remains. The men that walk must remain at a pace of 3 miles per hour. Multiple drops below that speed result in the participant being executed. Stepping off the road results in the participant being executed. Defying or assaulting the military officials that oversee this event, that's nationally televised too, that results in being killed as well. The winner receives a wish that can be granted, as well as, unless I missed it, an indeterminate amount of money.
I don't think they ever actually gave the amount of money, like
I
the
don't think so
specific
either.
amount. It was always like you get the money and you get whatever you want to wish for. You get one wish and they make it happen.
Yes. There's cameras all over this thing. People are said to watch this on their televisions. We never go in the homes
Yeah.
of people. We
The
never
whole time
do.
you're in the walk. You don't ever leave the walk.
Barring one flashback and the opening sequence of Judy Greer, who plays the mother of Girardi, played by Cooper Hoffman, barring the scene of her driving him to the walk and a flashback scene involving Girardi's dad, I think it's Girardi actually, you don't see the homes or anything like that really. But
I'm gonna call him Raymond, by the way. I ain't gonna say that last name. I cannot do it.
There's so many. There's a lot of unique last names in here. Girardi,
Yeah.
McVries. There's a lot of unique last names in here. So again, you're locked on to the walkers in this movie too, and they're comprised of a lot of faces that you may or may not recognize. There's Cooper Hoffman, who plays Raymond Girardi. He is most famous for Licorice Pizza. He's Philip Seymour's son. This is his probably his second biggest role now after Licorice Pizza. You have David Jonsson, who I've really liked. He was in Alien Romulus. He was
Yeah.
also in a movie called Rye Lane a couple of years ago that was very good. He plays McVries, who latches on. Him and Girardi form a really close friendship very early on in the movie. You've got Charlie Plummer, who plays Barkovich, who's this asshole bully. You've got Garrett Waring, who plays Stebbins, who's really hostile and kind of despondent. The other character I really enjoyed in this movie, too, is Ben Wang, who you'll recognize from Karate Kid Legends if you saw that movie. He plays Olson, who doesn't shut the hell up until he really can't talk anymore. But he's funny. He's very good. He's very effective comic relief in this movie. He's very entertaining. So you essentially get a plethora of faces that if you're really into movies and you've seen a lot of especially like low key efforts, this is kind of the breakout role for a lot of these individuals too, but they might be familiar faces to you if you've seen any
That
of the movies I just
this is the
mentioned.
future of Hollywood. Um
Yes, it's the next generation.
I don't mean to cut you off here.
Go for it.
In terms of a young cast or just the cast in general, I think this might be my favorite cast of the year. And I think it's because it is a bunch of up and coming young kids. And to credit where credit is due, also Mark Hamill does a really good job in this movie too. And Judy Greer for the even though Mark Hamill is the major, he's not in the movie a whole lot. Same thing with Judy Greer being the mom, she's not in the movie a whole lot. But when they're there, they're effective. But these young actors, oh my god, man, my favorite cast of the year. Every moment, I was just locked onto the screen, watching them all interact with one another, play off each other, and like just wondering who's gonna say what next, who's gonna interact with who, what's gonna come of what. But at the heart of it all, and you could take it from here, and you could agree with me, disagree, whatever. At the end of the day, David Jonsson and Cooper Hoffman are the heart and soul of this movie, man. Uh, every scene with them where it's just them two interacting is tear jerking, heartwarming, just makes you think deeply about what's actually being talked about, or you're just entertained by their insanely good chemistry with one another, man. It is phenomenally good. I was watching this movie, I was in awe of everybody's performance, especially those two.
Couldn't agree more. And I think another reason, I think one of the reason I draw on The Outsiders too is because I think this movie has a lot of raw energy and a lot of like kind of various different character types that are kind of indicative of like young men, the different personalities young men have at that age.
Yeah.
I also think too, on an external level, now I don't know. I mean, you go back to the original Outsiders movie and the wealth of familiar faces that are in that movie that went on to be, you know, superstars in the era or in the age of movies too. See Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Tom Cruise, Leif Garrett, all those actors that went on to have historic Hollywood careers. I don't know if that'll be the case for the actors in The Long Walk, but this does feel like a movie 10 years from now. We're going to look back and it's going to be a who's who of stars
Yeah.
because all these guys are in their 20s. They're very young. They maybe have fewer than 10 credits to their name, most of them. And but they exhibit such powerful performances in this movie, physical performances too, and this sets them up very well, I think, for a long career. And and really the shining stars of this movie, as you said, are Cooper Hoffman as well as David Jonsson. They are phenomenal in this movie. And it's a treat to know too that if we're lucky that like these guys are going to be around for the next couple of decades
Yeah.
and making movies like this and making movies that are really going to be, because I see a lot of Cooper Hoffman's success with this movie is very similar to what Licorice Pizza was. Great dialogue, not beholden to a very strict point A to B to C to D plot, and also the fact that he has a character that kind in this sense more so than Licorice Pizza, if you really think about it, given this Raymond Girardi story with his father, is I think impossible not to see how close to home it is for Cooper, who lost his
Yeah.
dad, Philip Seymour Hoffman, at the age of 10.
Yeah. It almost like when that scene was actually happening, that was all I was thinking the entire time. And fuck, I mean, we'll talk about coincidence that, of course, one of the last movies that he did before passing, or just roles that he did, was Plutarch Heavensbee in the Hunger Game movies, which was directed by Francis Lawrence. And I was just like,
Yeah.
ain't that something? I'm like, the entire time I'm watching that flashback, I'm just thinking, like, he's probably emulating, like, the same, like, thing that, he experienced after his dad passed away. But also, like, Francis Lawrence is probably looking at this too, like, oh my God, like, I'm actually directing with his younger son. This is crazy. Another thing I just want to give a shout out to Francis Lawrence about, I don't know if you saw the article saying this, but he actually was fighting to keep the movie at a low budget. He didn't want this to be some big budget movie like the studio was pushing for because it was a Stephen King book. No, he's like, no, we can make this like 15-20 million at most, and we could do it that way, film it that way, and it'll be a box office success. And considering that the budget is estimated to be at 20 million and it's already grossed worldwide 15 million, yeah, this thing's gonna make back its money, and it's gonna have great word of mouth that I imagine when it goes to streaming and home video, it'll even get more sales there too.
That's a really smart play. And this movie has started and stopped in production, I was reading too, for a long time. George A. Romero back in 1988 was actually in talks to direct this thing.
Really? Okay.
Dawn of the Dead, Mr. Dawn of the Dead, Mr. Zombie King himself. And
Okay.
then another director who has helmed a lot of Stephen King adaptations, some would even argue the best, Frank Darabont, the man responsible for The Green Mile and The Mist. He was at one point, this was going to be his movie after The Mist, and it never
Okay.
happened.
Okay.
This was gonna come after The Mist back in 07. In The Mist, I've talked about it on the show before too. The Mist is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. I love that book. I love that movie. I love the black and white version of the movie too.
That is the best version of that movie, honestly.
I think so. I think it really
And
is.
it's a real
phenomenal
shame
picture.
that like he could not get it to be like that theatrically.
I'm glad we got the version, no less. It's a
Yeah.
really good black and white version. That's one of those too that, like, you want to talk about, millions of reasons why physical media matters. That is a bonus feature on the deluxe edition of The Mist. There's two different DVD versions. I'm pretty sure it's on the Blu-ray too. But it's definitely, I think, the way to watch that movie in black and white.
Yeah.
But
It's been a damn good year too for just Stephen King adaptations in general, from The Life of Chuck, The Monkey, and now The Long Walk. Like, it's just
It
like, wow,
has.
like, for a while there was a period of time that, like, you heard, oh, adapted from Stephen King, you're like, ah, shit. You're like,
the
oh,
Dark
no.
Tower.
The
and
Dark
shit.
Tower, Pet Cemetery, Firestarter. Like, it was just like, oh, dude. Like, that's why Chapter 1 and even Chapter 2 like as well, like, you were like, oh my God, like they did it. Like, they actually pulled this off. It was like such like a big surprise. Even the Children of the Corn remake that happened, like, it's just like, oh my God. But it's like, this has actually been a year where it's all three releases. And I know The Monkey, people could look at me and go, you actually like that? Yeah, I do. I think that's a good movie. I think all of y'all are just not misinterpreting that movie, but misunderstanding it.
No, I agree too. I hope The Monkey gets a little bit more, a little bit better retrospective than I think it was afforded. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, but I think it gets a lot
and
of
The Running
shit.
Man. The Running Man comes out later this year with Edgar Wright directing it.
That is right. Yeah, The Running Man is coming out too. I forgot about that. Yeah, that is another one. Yeah, I was looking back. I was just briefly looking back at some of the other Stephen King adaptations too. Honestly, it's really been in the last like maybe 9 years that we've gotten so many, because in the 2000s we got like only 6, and I know but I mean, over the course of 10 years, that's not really a lot. You got stuff like another one of my favorites, Hearts in Atlantis, Secret Window with Johnny Depp, another underrated one, not one of my favorites, but one of the underrated ones, 1408, with John Cusack.
Yes, yeah. I actually do remember
The hotel,
that,
the hotel one. That
Yeah.
was a creepy one. I like that one. It's not high art by any means, but it is good. But when we come back, I want to talk about the one thing I do want to touch on too with this movie is like the way that death is handled in this movie, because there's a thing with this movie, and I think it's partly the premise, but I also think, maybe unfairly or not, it is part of the association I have with Francis Lawrence being the Hunger Games director, that like I look at this movie as like a work of young adult fiction, and maybe it shouldn't have surprised me as much that they went this way, but
Yeah.
I laud it. It's not a criticism. I laud it. I was still surprised by it, and I'm very proud of what this movie did when it came to how they handled deaths in this movie.
I have something to add on to that as well when we come back.
That is what we are going to talk about for the back half of Sleepless with Steve. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. This is Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. I mean, the good news is we got the rest of the 45 minutes or so to talk about Alien Romulus, okay? It's a brand new movie. Fede Alvarez directed it. I got to be honest, it was you and Dom, and which is ironic because he's not even here. You guys, I wasn't sure if I was going to see this movie because I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not the biggest fan of the Alien franchise. I'm really not. I like the first. I mean, the first one's an absolute indisputable classic. I like the second movie. I didn't see Alien 3. I didn't see Resurrection. I never saw AVP or Requiem. I never saw those two. And then I came back for Prometheus and Covenant. I think the next movie, I probably will marathon them and re-review the first two.
Okay.
Like, I think I'll probably do that. I should have done it for this one, but I was on a time.
I should make a road trip
really busy
out.
Month.
I should make a road trip out and like watch them with you just to see your reaction to a few.
Loan me the quadrilogy.
if I may, I'm kind of in a similar boat with you. Other than I've seen everything you haven't seen. I think the first one is amazing. I think it's an amazing horror film. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The second one, and I get shit from people about this all the time, I like it a lot. I think it's a great action film, but I think the first one made the alien way scarier. And then when you have the Marines, like, you know, taking them down left and right and all this other stuff, they're not as threatening anymore. They are still scary and everything, but it's more of an action movie. 3 I don't like, but, you know, it's not as bad as some people make it out to be. It is bad, but like some people call it the worst one. Resurrection to me is the worst one. Both AVP movies I think kind of stink. PG-13 one's okay with its action, but other than that, it's so convoluted. Prometheus I thought was fun. It was cool to get Ridley Scott to do something like that again. I don't like Covenant at all, and we'll talk about this one now.
The one thing I will say, first things first, that's funny. Alien versus Predator I just saw is on Disney Plus. Which is very fun, which is very funny to me. And the other thing I will admit, even though I didn't, like I said, I didn't see it. I remember because it came out the same year as the SpongeBob movie. And I remember as a kid, that was the year I went to the theater way more often with my uncle and my mother. That was like the year where I went to the theater maybe like 6 times, which for like an 8-year-old's a lot. Back and better than ever after our Zoom sponsored intermission. It is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We're talking The Long Walk, the brand new Francis Lawrence film starring Cooper Hoffman, David Jonsson. We'll probably talk more about their performances in just a few minutes. But I want to touch on this, though, when it comes to the way death is handled in this movie. Now, I was talking before we went to break about how I don't know if it's just the association that I have with Francis Lawrence, the director of this movie, with the Hunger Games. I think that's a big part of it. And the fact that this is technically a dystopian thriller that was kind of a young adult novel, though, back in the 70s and the 80s too. It was it's actually listed as, the American Library Association listed it as one of the 100 best books for teenage readers, published between 66 and 2000. So it did have play in schools across America. I would assume probably mostly on the East Coast, given King's main roots and everything. I would assume mostly on the East Coast, maybe not so much in the Midwest, but I could be wrong. But either way, the thing about this movie, though, is that this movie has a lot in common sort of with like young adult literature. I guess the jarring part of it is the fact that this is an R-rated movie, and it's a hard R-rated movie too.
Oh yeah.
It's a hard R-rated movie, for not only for language, but for violence. And this is a movie that immediately, it's one of those movies, I love these kind of movies. You don't know it until you're in it. I love movies that don't mind showing you the title card like 25 minutes to a half an hour in.
Okay, you're talking about what I wanted to bring up. Go ahead.
First off, I love that feature. Catherine's the letterbox list queen. I don't make many letterbox lists. She makes a lot of really good lists and stuff like that. I'd like to make a list. There's another list I've talked about is movies that are always on cable, no matter what time of day. Another one would be like movies that take the movies that make you wait for the title card. This, Scream, Blackula, Scream. There's a lot of them that like make you wait like 20 plus minutes for the title card to the point where you're even wondering if it's coming. But this one though, the first death in this movie, because what I've mentioned before with the rules of the long walk, you get multiple warnings. In a short period of time, you get executed. You step off the pavement, you get executed. You harass the military officials, you get executed. The first death in this movie, like, I mean, there's the tension and build up that will he or won't he make it,
Yeah.
and then when it comes, it is brutal. This is not a cut to black, cut to another shot movie when it comes to the
No,
death.
they straight up show it, and it makes you go like, oh shit.
It jolted me.
Yeah.
It jolted me because and also too, it's after the shot, the execution shot, it lingers on it for like a second or two.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's when you realize that this movie doesn't pull punches. Most of the deaths happen on screen.
Yeah.
And there's a couple, and it's not just shots. There's another one involving a tank that's fucking brutal. It's one of those movies. If you watch a lot of horror movies like we do, you're not really bothered by it maybe, but it's definitely a movie that is graphic in that way. And the one thing that I think about this movie too, one of the more unique elements of this movie, not just how it's fearless in showing death, because a lot of movies are, and especially nowadays, they don't flinch at that. There's two things. One, it's kids. It's mostly kids that get killed in this movie. So that's big to begin with. Number one. Number two, the other thing is that, you know, there's this movie, you know going into it, or you assume if you know the premise, it's going to be a very high body count. It's very clear within the first half an hour, 45 minutes, the characters that you like and the characters you don't like. There's a part of you that thinks, and I don't want to speak for you, but I can bet it, because I had the same reaction too. Like Barkovich, I'm like, God, it's going to be satisfying when that fucker dies. It's going to be satisfying when he dies. You think you'll be satisfied when it happens. But in the long walk, the subdued tone and progressively mournful nature of the story, when it starts getting to like mile 200 plus, and the way the characters start operating under fatigue and exhaustion, makes the deaths of even initially loathsome characters deeply saddening.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing for a movie to do, especially because there's a couple of these kids in this thing that are just heinously unlikable for most of the walk, that are just heinously unlikable. One's responsible for another's death. And when they die, it's like, damn, this didn't hit like I thought it was going to, like it does in some horror movies, like the kid who throws the penny in Final Destination Bloodlines. You know what I mean? I'm like, this doesn't hit the way I wanted it to. This is actually really sad. And it's a credit to Molnar and Francis Lawrence, who did a great job with the screenplay.
Stebbins is another one for me where it's like, again, I hate to say, like, you know, yeah, obviously we're spoiling it here by saying these characters and everything, but it's like, I will not say what happens at the very end, because they do change the ending to the book. Yeah,
they do.
Those of you who read it, they do change the ending, and I think the ending is better in this movie. But Stebbins is another one where it's like he comes across as like, you know, the jock of the group, kind of the one who's like, you know, like, I'm here to, like, you know, he comes off cocky and everything. But when you learn his backstory, and it's not even a flashback, but just as they're walking and he's talking about it, and you learn why he's on the walk, it's like, oh, dude, you shouldn't be here either, honestly. Like, honestly, every time I was just like, oh, yeah, dude, like, you know, this kid has it coming. By by the end, I was like, no kid deserves this. No, none of y'all. All right, like, no kid should be part of this. I want to go back real quick, of course, to, like, you know, the impact of the deaths and just title cards in general, because I do want to agree with you. This is one of my favorite title card drops in a long time. Actually, I shouldn't say a long time, because Evil Dead Rise had a really good title card drop. But this one, it does it masterfully. It sets the tone by using it sets the tone because of the graphic death that you see, and then when it cuts back to Cooper Hoffman, and he just looks straight ahead and he's shocked and he's realizing, oh fuck, I should have just stayed in the car. I should have not done this. This was a bad idea. And then the title card drops. It just goes, this is it. This is the rest of the movie. That first 20 minutes where you thought like, oh, hey, like, you know, the kids they're joking with one another. Everybody's getting along with each other. Because that first 20 minutes, It's actually a very like it's like Stand By Me. It's like, oh, we're just hanging out with these kids and everything, and then that kid gets shot, and from there on out, it's like, oh no, this is like Full Metal Jacket. Like we're gonna see some graphic messed up shit happen from here on out.
It's another apt comparison you make. Sorry, I'm lagging a little bit. I can
No,
tell.
you're good. You're good.
It's another apt comparison you can make to Stand By Me because it does. Stephen King has always had a really good pulse on youth and
Yeah,
just a really good pulse on youth ensembles. I mean,
yeah.
a lot. I mean, think of his best works.
That's
Or his
why I've
most
been telling
famous
people
works.
like chapter 1 of it is way better than chapter 2, and it's mainly because of the cast. I think the young kids and their chemistry and how they're written are so much better than the adult counterparts in the sequel.
Yeah, I've not read the book. I've not read it. It's longer than the Bible. But I've not read it. It's on my reader bucket list. But having seen both adaptations, the TV movie in the 90s and then this were in the late 80s, I think maybe. I think it was 1990 actually. And then it chapter 1 and 2, I almost think that it's and I can't pass judgment on the book. I'm just talking about the movies.
Yeah.
I just think because that was my thing with the second part of the miniseries too. I'm just like the kids aren't jaded traumatized adults. They
Yeah.
are by definition more interesting than the adults.
Yeah.
That's just I think sort of ingrained in the storyline or just part of the story is the fact that the kids are more interesting because they're young, they're innocent, and their innocence is being lost and you're watching it in real time and then they grow up and they're despondent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if they made The Long Walk, if they made a follow-up to it and focused on the survivor of the event and stuff like that, it probably wouldn't be as interesting.
No.
You know what I mean? Or if he was mentoring somebody else who was going on the long walk, it probably wouldn't be as interesting because it's focused on an adult. That's what I think is just ultimately the thing with the It book or the It series.
Yeah.
And the movie adaptations too. Is it's just the kids are much more interesting, and King just has a wonderful way of writing kids that doesn't feel condescending, doesn't feel disparaging, and the
Yeah.
fact that the Long Walk it's all men too, and obviously Stephen King's a male. It's it's great to see this because it reminded me a little bit of high school and like the different types of boys you meet and
Yeah.
young men you meet.
Yeah.
Like you learn very early on like that there are some kids that are that are physically stronger. There are kids that are more athletic. There are kids that are not
Religious.
friendly. There are kids that are religious. There
Yeah.
are kids that come from way different backgrounds. There are kids of different races. You know what I mean? It kind of you know what it kind of weird. It's a weird way to draw this, but you know what this reminded me of too was like gym class was like when we would have to when literally there were some days in gym, especially in high school, we had a track and
Yeah.
you had to go outside and literally all you did was fucking walk or run the track all day. It was miserable. It
Yeah.
was a miserable time. Like and especially for somebody like me, I get tired after like a third of a mile. But and then you just find yourself in like a pack of like 8 and Jim's co-ed, so it's not really, it's not really a apples to apples comparison, but you find yourself just like in a pack of 8 and you're just sort of like riffing and talking, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're all in this shitty situation together. And and that's kind of what it reminded me of. And I think that it's I don't know how much of I haven't read the book. I don't know how much of King's dialogue and King's plot structure was utilized. I know I did look up the ending though. I did look up the ending just to see what
Yeah.
they did because a lot of Stephen King books or a lot of Stephen King movies abandon the ending.
Yeah.
Um
As
with,
even his cameo in chapter 2 where he constantly goes, yeah, I don't like the ending. It's kind of almost like a self-reference that like most of the time it's changed because most people don't really like the ending.
yeah, no, it's true. And that's always been Stephen King for as prolific he is, that's the one thing he's always been criticized for is that he
He
has
doesn't know how to wrap it up.
interesting setups with disappointing payoffs.
Yeah.
He's heard that for decades. It's always been he can take the fucking plane off like nobody's business and he can fly it like Sully. But when it comes to landing it, it's tougher for him. I can
Yeah.
tell. He's had good endings to books, but it's like The Mist. I come back and talk about The Mist. Like that was one of the few Stephen King endings that ended darker than the actual. Like that was one of King's more optimistic endings for the end of a novel.
Yeah, I know
That
that's
was
so
one,
crazy to think about where it's like when you look at
he
the
ended
book
it on a
ending, you're
happy
like,
note.
you're
He
like,
ended it on a
whoa.
happy note, and then the movie is one I've talked about it ad nauseum is one of the saddest movie endings I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
And seeing that at 11 years old in theaters with my uncle was probably not good for my brain chemistry, because I remember that movie left me fucking sullen, afterwards. Um, as
I
great as it is.
I want to give a shout out to Toot Newt. Sorry if I butcher your name if you somehow come across this.
I think it's
He
Tut Newt. I think it's
Tut
Tut Newt is
Newt.
how you say it.
He plays Arthur Baker. He's the religious one that I was referring to. Um, out of all the scenes in this movie, his departure I think choked me up the hardest.
Yes. Yes.
Um, it's because his like the way, again, I hate that I'm spoiling this and everything. The way some characters go out where like they're screaming in pain, or they're screaming and they're like kind of giving regret as they're dying and everything. It is sad, it is hurtful. It's the fact that Arthur accepts it, and like, even just the line of just walk with us a little longer, like, just like,
Yeah.
let's spend a little bit longer with us, dude. I didn't cry at a lot of this movie, but my eyes started bawling at that scene, because it's just oh god, I'm gonna get emotional here. I did lose a friend earlier this year, and that's all that came through my mind watching it. And it hit me emotionally in that way, but it hit me emotionally too because the actors did such a great job at just like saying goodbye to a friend, and it's just like it captured it so beautifully, man. It really did. Again, like best cast of the year by far. And just him coming to acceptance of it and everything, and even them saying like, "Hey, man, like, you held This is what killed me. You held your head high, and you made some friends along the way." Like when they said that, I just started bawling, dude. I did the full like on. I had to move my glasses. I did this, and then I put my glasses back on, and I was just like, okay. All right, next scene, please.
You're getting me over here. You're getting me over here a little bit.
Sorry, man.
No, not at all.
But yeah, it got to me to where. Are you ready to give final thoughts?
If you are.
Yeah. It got to me where this movie was riding along 3.5 out of 4 stars for me, and we get to that scene, and there's still about 20 to 30 minutes left of this movie. It became 4 stars for me right there. It did.
Okay.
And I love the ending too. I've seen some people debate about the ending, if it's better or not. I ended up loving it. I think it's such a great way to wrap up the story and everything, and gives meaning to, like, when revenge and the theme of that, as well as like being hopeful in life and everything. As somebody, like, I'm not saying I've had a hard life, but I've been through some really long rough patches. Peter McVeris's speech about his walk and how he's been walking his whole life, and maybe it could just be the way David Jonsson delivered it, but there is a lot of impact there for anybody that's been through some rough shit. And if our age group has, between COVID, between the 08-09 market crash, where the housing market crash, which, if you want to know what I'm heavily referring to by bringing this up, it is that him just going on about, like, just, I've been through this walk. I've been walking this walk my whole life. This has been what I do and everything. And I'm just trying to get on by. I'm trying to make sure, and like, how he's trying to be courageous. He's trying to keep people moving forward. He wants them to think positive in life. It is a mentality that I have kept in my life, and it just spoke to me. It's like, I've never been able to like really formulate it in words, like an experience of like that. I've only been able to vent it and everything, but to condense it down into a 3-minute scene, 3-minute speech, it nailed it so perfectly. And I fell in love with this movie by the credits. I actually, like, the longer I've been thinking about it, the more I'm like, yeah, because it became 4 stars, and I drove home. I'm like, okay, all right, I think I'm just on a movie high. But this entire week, as I've been like, as I've been thinking about the movie, I'm like, no, I am gonna give it 4 out of 4 stars. So yeah, it is a 4 out of 4 star movie for me. I absolutely loved The Long Walk, and it is one of those movies, though. It's similar to what's it called? Midsummer. I love that movie. It's a 4-star movie for me. I don't think I ever want to watch it again, though, because it is a depressing movie. But if somebody were to tell me, I never saw that movie and I heard so many good things about it, I will throw it on right away, because I want to see the reaction, but also talk about it with them, because it's that damn good of a movie. It's 4 out of 4 stars for me.
I wasn't aware you lost somebody close to you, too. My
Sorry,
condolences to you
I
on
know
that.
I didn't bring it up with you guys or anything. It was something I kind of talked about, like, with my other friend group and everything.
No, for sure. No obligation. I
Yeah.
just want to give my condolences and such
Thank you.
too, because I mean, yeah, this movie, I could see how this would hit you like a truck,
Yeah.
in that respect too. Um, because I like, and it's because I'm a guy too. I like male bonding movies too. You know
Oh
what I
yeah. I
mean?
mean,
I
how can
love
you not? That's why I love Ephus.
yeah, it's another one too. That's another great one this year too. Guys being dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like there's something, and I know like I compared this to gym class earlier, which is far less stakes than this movie. But it's kind of like there is sort of a collective recognition when you're in a situation that you don't want to be in. Everybody's in that situation they don't want to be in. And the mutuality and sort of the like egalitarian state of the moment is that you all have to be a part of this, or you're all a part of it. So this is what the walk, in so many ways, in the long walk, is a conduit for conversations and dialogue, which is I'm a nut for, as I've talked about for years in my reviews in this. I find the movies that are the closest to me are movies that involve two guys in a park bench or a convenience store, maybe. You know what I mean? It's those movies that I wind up learning so much from,
Yeah.
in multiple different ways too. And a movie like this, I just want to make sure to give credit where credit's due, because this is a movie that, no pun intended, continues to move. Joe Willems is the cinematographer in this movie.
Yeah.
This
For a
is a
movie just about people walking, it's filmed great. It's
It
filmed
is.
really damn good.
And there's that forward motion. It doesn't leave you. I'm really glad. It was probably tempting for a writer, but I'm really glad we don't go in the homes of people watching this thing.
Yeah.
If it was a mini series or if it was a show, it would be a little bit different. But for a 2 hour movie, or an hour and 48-minute movie, I think, for it to just pretty much exclusively keep you on this road with these people and these characters, it is absolutely the right approach for a movie like this. And it doesn't come across as monotonous. And I also think that's a large credit due to the cast, specifically Hoffman and Jonsson. And, I don't know how they're going to push this. I really don't. But I think that there is the studio behind this is a Lionsgate. I think I truly think there's merit, if they wanted to try to get Hoffman and Jonsson some recognition when it comes to the Oscars.
Dude,
I
how could you not? I really think that if we had to pick one, I'm sorry, Hoffman, you're great, but I
I
have to give
agree,
it
it
to
would be
Johnson.
Jonsson.
But if they both can be nominated, like if they both can be leads or whatever, if Johnson gets supporting and Hoffman gets lead, that's fine. But it's just like, they're so damn good in this movie.
I don't know if you know this. Let me know if do you know how old David Johnson is?
Is he almost 30?
Take a guess how old he is.
28.
He's 32.
Shit. All right.
He is literally 10 years older than Cooper Hoffman.
Wow.
Cooper Hoffman's 22. Which also makes me just think, because he was 10 when Philip Seymour died. I mean, shit, it's been 12 years since Hoffman died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I'm like, shit, he's 32. He's so boyish and youthful.
Yeah.
Like I expected him to be about 27 or so, 28, about that area. He's
I
32 years old.
I remember, yeah, I did think he was younger when I saw Romulus, and I remember I looked up his age, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's he just passed 30.
Yeah, he's a terrific actor. There was a few, and I don't think it diminishes the performance at all. There is a few beats, though. He is English. There's a few beats when that accent.
I did notice that.
He's trying to lose that accent, and it's coming out. You know what I mean? Like, no, I would if you had to go either or, I would give it to Jonsson by a nudge. But I would like to see Lionsgate try and get some recognition.
They
for
really
these,
should.
for
Adapted
these dudes.
screenplay as well, because I think the screenplay is really well done.
Yeah.
And if you whatever else category you want to throw it into as well, if you want to go for best cinematography, some heavy hitters this year with that alone. But like, if you want to throw your hat into the ring, go right ahead. But I think they really should campaign for this movie. I think they could get at least something, one award nomination for someone.
I agree. I think this could be the one, like, because there's one every year. It was like that Judy Garland biopic for Renee Zellweger, where like it was just Renee Zellweger as Judy was the nomination. I could see like David Johnson being the lone nomination for this movie, and I think for The Long Walk, and I think that would be worthy. I hope this thing sticks around in theaters. Because like I said, I was slightly surprised, And maybe I just underestimate Demon Slayer or whatever. I was slightly surprised. I was thinking this was going to take in like 20 to 25 million in an opening weekend. So I
I
was
did too.
kind of
Honestly, I did too. I was not surprised that it didn't, but I was like, damn, I actually thought I would have a chance.
I was a little surprised by that. But my
I
star rating, it's 3.5 out of 4 for me too,
Yeah.
to land that plane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope it. No pun intended as well. I hope it does have some legs to keep on moving. Like,
Yeah, I know
yes.
it's terrible. Like I talk about the forward momentum of the movie. I think the only thing we didn't bring up, the only thing, I mentioned it briefly in my opening. The only thing that I will mention, she's not in it very long, Judy Greer, but she will break your fucking heart every time she's on screen.
Yeah,
She will break your fucking
that
heart.
that scene where
Like,
they're walking through his hometown. That scene was tough to
yeah.
sit through too.
Oh God. Like, shout out to my
And
mama's
her
boys out
facial
there.
her facial reactions too sell it so well of yelling at your son like, what are you doing? You're gonna get yourself killed, but also
Yes.
like you could tell deep down inside, yeah, of course she wants to hug her kid and everything.
Of course. Like,
So
shout out to my mama's boys out there. Judy Greer gonna break your fucking heart in this movie. I'm telling you, she's damn good. She's a great
yeah.
actress. She's not in it very often, but like when she is, she does make those moments. She does make those moments connect. That is The Long Walk, our review. A great review, I will say too. Next week is Him. It is not directed by Jordan Peele, for Christ's sake. We're going to have to go through this again now, too. This is Candyman all over again, where people are going to think this is Jordan Peele's movie. It is not. Say her name for Candyman, Nia DaCosta. Say his name, Justin Tipping's Him. That is the movie we are reviewing too. Not totally familiar with Tipping's work. I know he's done work with The Shy and Dear White People. I do see he was a producer on a movie called Lowriders, which was a Blumhouse Tilt film back in 2016, which I kind of liked. At the same time I didn't. It was like lowrider culture and stuff like that. It was kind
Oh
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
interesting.
I never saw it, but I never see because it was around Sleepless and everything, so I never always seen the trailers for it. When we had to go review something.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was okay. I wished it was one of those movies I wished was better.
Yeah.
But we are seeing the movie Him. I'm very excited for this movie too because this movie has quite an interesting cast, and it's Marlon Wayans in a rare dramatic horror role.
Yeah.
And I love Marlon Wayans. I think Marlon Wayans is not only just a hilarious. I grew up watching not only Scary Movie 2 and stuff. I grew up watching the Wayans brothers as a kid, the show.
Yeah.
I love Marlon Wayans, and I think he's a phenomenal actor when given a good role.
Oh yeah.
So I think that I'm really excited to see what he does with this movie. We're reviewing that next week. Hopefully Dom will be back to join us then. Until then, great show. Joe, I appreciate you running it and making all the magic happen as you typically do. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with a review of Him. Until then, for the unseen but still love Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.